Tonight's trial by fire. Maze prisoners take food truck for spin. Battle of Stamford Bridge ends with king in a rut. And giant trees in Sequoia National Park protected from being cut down to size. Plus, coming up, a special report from the world of extreme ironing as local daredevil Steve the Press. McQueen attempts to iron a shirt while skydiving. Those are the headlines. Fry me with butter.
News bang. The truth is out there somewhere between the lies. 1983.
38 IRA prisoners have escaped from the Maze prison in Northern Ireland, using nothing but a hijacked meals lorry and their burning desire for shepherd's pie. The breakout, described by authorities as a bit of a cock-up, has left the British government with egg on its face and mashed potatoes in its hair.
The escapees, now dubbed the Dirty 38 by local media, reportedly used plastic spoons to eat their way through 17 feet of reinforced concrete before commandeering the prison meals lorry. "We thought they were just really hungry," said one bewildered guard.
Hedreen, 1066.
The Battle of Stamford Bridge has left thousands dead and the Norse invasion of England in tatters. Eyewitnesses report that Harold Godwinson, in a fit of rage over his brother Tostig's betrayal, personally decapitated over 500 Norwegian warriors using nothing but a rusty spoon and his bare hands.
The carnage began when a lone Norwegian soldier, later identified as Sven the Slightly Unhinged, held off the entire English army at the bridge by juggling live hand grenades. Unfortunately for Sven, he forgot he was wearing a highly flammable beard oil, leading to a spectacular explosion that cleared the way for the English forces.
The battle marks the end of the Viking Age in England, with survivors fleeing back to Norway muttering something about English food being punishment enough.
18 sky teen and Tom.
The Sequoia National Park was established today, putting an end to the time-honoured tradition of chopping down 1,000-year-old trees for toothpicks. The park, located in the southern Sierra Nevada, California, was created in 1890 to protect ancient giant sequoias from the ravages of loggers and their insatiable appetite for really big coffee tables.
The political process was a delicate dance between preserving nature and preserving the livelihoods of those who enjoyed turning nature into furniture. In the end, the trees won, much to the chagrin of axe manufacturers everywhere.
It is still News Bang, bringing you the news you can believe in because it happened today.
With the forecast, here's our weather presenter, Shakanaka Giles.
A touch of autumn chill in the air, and the weather's got a few tricks up its sleeve. Let's start in the southeast, where the remnants of Typhoon Longwang are still making a ruckus. Expect a right old downpour, the kind that would make even the sturdiest of umbrellas throw in the towel. It's as if the heavens have decided to give the region a good old-fashioned soak, like a grumpy landlord hosing down a troublesome tenant. Moving on to the Midlands, we've got a bit of a breeze brewing, the sort that would make Mary Poppins jealous. It's as if the winds decided to go on a personal vendetta against any and all hats, scarves, and loose articles of clothing. Best batten down the hatches, lest you end up in a Mary Poppins-esque aerial adventure. And finally, up north, the temperatures set to plummet faster than a lead balloon. It's the kind of chill that would make a polar bear shiver, so be sure to layer up, lest you end up frozen solid like a human popsicle. In summary then, a soggy southeast, a blustery Midlands, and a nippy north, Batten down the hatches, folks, and don't forget your wellies. And that's all the weather.
Hedreen, 1066.
Hold on to your helmets because it's kicking off in Yorkshire. Seems Harold Godwinson's decided to have a right royal barney with his brother Tostig and that Viking chap, Harold Hardrada. They're scrapping like a pack of drunken weasels over who gets to wear the fancy crown. Word on the battlefield is that some bloke's holding a bridge all by himself with nothing but an axe. Mad as a box of frogs, the lot of them. For a live update on this medieval melee, we go to our man on the spot, Brian Bastable, who's dodging flying axes and bad breath as we speak. Brian, what in Odin's name is going on?
Pamela, Stamford Bridge is a scene of absolute carnage. Imagine a Viking stag party gone horribly wrong. The air is thick with the stench of mead, blood sausage, and that peculiar aroma of fear only a Norse berserker can produce. Harold's having a right royal go at his brother Tostig, and Harold Hardrada's trying to break up the fight while simultaneously looting the nearest monastery. It's a proper family feud, Pamela, with axes and swords instead of passive-aggressive comments about Christmas dinner. And there on that bridge stands the most bonkers Viking I've ever seen. He's like a one-man army, Pamela, holding off the entire English force with an axe the size of a small child. They say he's already sent a dozen blokes to Valhalla, and he's not even breaking a sweat. But hold on, Pamela, the English are flanking him. They're swarming over the bridge like angry ants on a dropped sausage roll. It's all over for our axe-wielding hero. There he goes, down like a sack of potatoes. What a way to go, eh? Harold's won the day, Pamela, but he's got a nasty surprise waiting for him down south. William the Conqueror's got his eye on the English throne, and he's not the type to send a strongly worded letter. This is just the first act in a right royal drama, Pamela, and I've got a front row seat. Brian Bastable, Newsbang, signing off from a battlefield that's about as welcoming as a Viking's armpit after a 3-day bender.
1983.
And now, a look back at this day in 1983, when 38 IRA prisoners staged a daring escape from the supposedly impenetrable HM prison maze in Northern Ireland. In a brazen act of defiance, these determined individuals hijacked a prison meals lorry and made their way to freedom, dealing a humiliating blow to British authorities. This audacious breakout not only exposed glaring security flaws, but also reinvigorated the IRA's campaign, sending shockwaves through the establishment. For more on this extraordinary tale of jailbreak and its far-reaching consequences, we go now to our crime correspondent, Ken Schitt.
Good evening, you miserable sacks of shite. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into a steaming pile of British incompetence that would make even the Queen's corgis hang their heads in shame. 1983, County Antrim, Northern Ireland. 38 provisional IRA prisoners decided they'd had enough of Her Majesty's hospitality at the so-called escape-proof maze prison. These lads, with balls of steel and brains to match, hijacked a bloody food truck and waltzed out of that concrete hellhole like they were leaving a pub on a Saturday night. Now, you might be thinking, Ken, how in the name of all that's holy did these maniacs pull this off? Well, let me tell you, it wasn't by asking politely. These freedom-fighting feckers planned this escape with the precision of a surgeon and the audacity of a drunk Irishman at closing time. This wasn't just a prison break. Oh no. This was a massive feck you to the entire British establishment. A middle finger raised high, visible from London to Belfast. These 38 mad bastards didn't just escape. They shattered the illusion of British control faster than you can say, top of the morning. The Brits were left with egg on their face and their trousers around their ankles. Meanwhile, the IRA was cackling all the way to the nearest safe house, their spirits higher than a kite in a hurricane. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when you underestimate the determination of men fighting for a cause. The British government learned a hard lesson that day. You can't cage an idea, and you sure as hell can't break the spirit of those willing to die for it. Ken shit, reminding you that freedom is never free, but sometimes it comes with a side of mashed potatoes and a stolen prison lorry. Good fucking night.
1981.
On this day in 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor shattered the glass ceiling of the highest court in the land, becoming the first woman to don the robes of a Supreme Court justice. This Stanford law graduate, once a mere state senator, ascended to the pinnacle of judicial power, leaving a trail of shattered stereotypes in her wake. Appointed by President Reagan, O'Connor swiftly became the court's swing vote, wielding more power than a pendulum in a grandfather clock factory. For more on this epical event, we cross to our American correspondent, Melody Wintergreen, who's been loitering outside the Supreme Court building for the past 4 decades.
This is Melody Wintergreen, reporting from the steps of the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. on this historic day. The year is 1981, and the air is electric with anticipation as we await the arrival of Sandra Day O'Connor, who is about to make history by becoming the first female justice to grace the hallowed halls of this most august of institutions. The scene here is one of unbridled drama and pageantry. Crowds have gathered from all corners of the nation, eager to catch a glimpse of this trailblazing woman as she ascends the marble steps and takes her rightful place on the bench. The media throng is a veritable feeding frenzy. Microphones and cameras poised, ready to capture every nuanced gesture and eloquent utterance. And here she comes now, resplendent in her judicial robes, a beacon of hope and inspiration for women everywhere. As O'Connor approaches the imposing edifice, one can almost feel the weight of history upon her shoulders. This is a moment that will reverberate through the ages, a seismic shift in the very fabric of American jurisprudence. For too long, the Supreme Court has been the exclusive domain of men, a bastion of patriarchal power. But today, that all changes. Sandra Day O'Connor shatters the glass ceiling, her steely gaze and unwavering determination a testament to the indomitable spirit of the fairer sex. As she takes her seat, one can almost hear the collective sigh of relief from women across the land. No longer will they be relegated to the sidelines, their voices silenced and their contributions marginalized. This is a victory for all who have fought tirelessly for equality, a triumph that will echo through the corridors of power for generations to come. So, let the bells of freedom ring out, for the scales of justice have been rebalanced and a new era of enlightenment has dawned. The future is female, and the Supreme Court will never be the same. Melody Wintergreen, Newsbang, reporting from the steps of history.
Idzi News Bang, greeting the waves of news with a cannonball of truth. 1977.
For a look back at the 1977 Chicago Marathon, here's Ryder Boff.
And now let's jog our memories back to 1977, where Chicago has just witnessed its first modern marathon. 4,200 brave souls laced up their plimsolls and hit the streets running like their lives depended on it. The men's race was won by Dan the Human Gazelle Cloter, who crossed the finish line in a blistering 2 hours, 17 minutes and 52 seconds. That's faster than my Aunt Mildred can polish off a family-sized trifle. And believe me, that woman can put it away. Seriously.
And here comes Cloter now, folks. He's pulling away from the pack like a whippet with a rocket up its backside. His stride's so smooth, it's like watching poetry in motion. If poetry wore running shorts and sweated profusely. He's crossing the finish line. What a performance. He's barely broken a sweat. I, on the other hand, am perspiring just watching him.
Not to be outdone, Dorothy, the Whirlwind Doolittle clinched the women's title in 2 hours, 50 minutes and 47 seconds.
And Doolittle's powering through. She's got the stamina of an ox and the grace of, well, a very athletic ox. Amazing. What a woman. I haven't seen a woman move that fast since my third wife caught me trying on her nightie.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Reports suggest that several runners got confused and ended up in a local wimpy, mistaking it for a fueling station. Others were seen desperately trying to hail taxis at mile 20, clearly regretting their life choices.
Oh dear, that chap over there seems to have hit the wall. Literally, he's sprawled out on the pavement like a discarded deck chair. God, I hope he's not dead. Oh, he's...
The event was organised by a group of visionaries who clearly thought, you know what this city needs? More sweaty people in shorts. They charged a whopping $5 entry fee, which in today's money is about enough to buy half a shoelace. So there you have it, folks. Chicago's first modern marathon, proving once and for all that humans will do just about anything if you give them a shiny medal at the end. Join me next time when we'll be covering the annual Ferret Legging Championships in Yorkshire. I've been Ryder Boff, and hopefully you've been someone else.
And now, for an environmental report guaranteed to make your branches tremble and your leaves weep, it's Penelope Wind Chime. Penelope, what eco-horrors are haunting your dreams tonight?
Oh, the indignity. Tonight, viewers, we mourn the loss of Sequoia National Park's innocence, a pristine wilderness defiled by, gasp, the establishment of a national park. Yes, on this day in 1890, those majestic sequoias, those ancient sentinels of nature, were fenced in, like prize-winning marrows at a village fete. Imagine the humiliation, viewers. Those towering trees forced to endure the indignity of tourists, picnics, children carving their initials into their bark. Oh, the barbarity. And now those poor sequoias face even greater threats. Climate change is turning their bark to brittle tinder. Drought is sucking them dry, leaving them as parched as a vicar's sermons. Wildfires rage, turning those magnificent giants into smouldering skeletons. It's a tragedy of arboreal proportions. This has been Penelope Wind Chime, weeping for the lost wildernesses. Leave those poor sequoias alone. Let them live out their days in peace. And for the love of all that is green and good, take your picnics and your initials elsewhere.
1911.
And now, our science correspondent Calamity Prenderville brings us a report on naval explosions and the peculiar British innovations that aim to prevent them. Calamity, over to you.
Good evening, viewers. Today we're diving into a bit of explosive history. On this day in 1911, the French battleship Liberté went boom in spectacular fashion. But fear not, for British innovation has once again saved the day.
You see, the French had been using unstable propellant charges, probably because they couldn't afford proper British gunpowder. But thanks to the ingenious boom-begone system developed by Nigel Fizzlewick of Penge, such disasters are now a thing of the past.
Fizzlewick's invention involves coating ammunition with a special mixture of Yorkshire pudding batter and Marmite. Not only does this stabilise the propellant, but it also confuses enemy ships with its distinctive aroma.
The French could have avoided this calamity if they'd invested in the Aqua Kaboom system, brainchild of Doris Sprocket from Cleethorpes. This revolutionary device floods ammunition storage with custard at the first sign of trouble. Not only does this prevent explosions, but it also provides a delicious dessert for the crew.
And let's not forget the Tickle Me Safe alarm developed by Reginald Giggles of Netherwallop. This system detects unstable propellant by subjecting it to a rigorous tickling session. If the propellant laughs, it's safe. If it doesn't, well, best to chuck it overboard. So there you have it, folks. Thanks to British ingenuity, naval disasters are now as rare as a decent cup of tea in Paris. This is Calamity Prendeville, reminding you to always keep your propellant tickled and your custard at the ready. Toodle pip.
A news bang, demolishing facts wall of euphemism.
And now our royal correspondent Sandy O'Shaughnessy bangs on about something or other.
Nice and easy.
Good evening, and thrice good evening to all you lovely listeners out there. This is Sandy O'Shaughnessy, your humble servant of history and purveyor of peculiar particulars, coming to you live from the cosy confines of Newsbang Towers. A hearty hello to Martin Bang, who's just handed over the reins of this runaway radio romp. Now, as we find ourselves on this balmy September evening, in the year of our Lord 2024, let's take a jolly jaunt back in time, shall we? Picture this. It's the year 275 AD, and the Roman Empire is in a bit of a tizzy. Poor old Aurelian's been given the old heave-ho, courtesy of an assassin's blade. Talk about workplace disputes getting out of hand. But fear not, dear listeners, for the Roman Senate, in all their togaed wisdom, have plucked a new emperor from their ranks, faster than you can say, et tu, brute. Enter Tacitus, stage left, ready to don the purple and take on the weighty mantle of Roman leadership. One can only imagine the job interview for that position. Previous experience in gladiatorial combat? Check. Ability to look dashing in a laurel wreath? Double check. Speaking of weighty matters, I've just received a letter from Dolores in Donegal. She writes, "Dear Sandy, my husband's been acting peculiar lately. He's taken to wearing a bedsheet as a toga and keeps asking me to feed him grapes. Should I be concerned?" Well, Dolores, it seems your husband's caught a bad case of Roman fever. Perhaps he's been listening to too many of our historical segments. My advice? Embrace it, love. There are worse things than having a Julius Caesar in the family. Just keep him away from the Senate, if you catch my drift. Now, let's fast forward to more recent times, shall we? The year 2021, to be precise. While we didn't have emperors being assassinated, thank heavens for that, we did have Mother Nature throwing quite the tantrum. Climate change, that fickle mistress, decided to make her presence known in a rather dramatic fashion. Picture this. Farmers scratching their heads as crops wither faster than my Aunt Mildred's prize petunias in a heatwave. Coastal towns bracing themselves against the sea's advances like a nervous debutante at her first ball. And don't even get me started on the poor souls in the health sector, running around like headless chickens, trying to keep up with all the climate-related sniffles and sneezes. It's enough to make you want to build an ark, isn't it? But fear not, dear listeners. If there's one thing history has taught us, it's that humanity is nothing if not resilient. We've survived emperors, plagues, and even the invention of the selfie stick. I'm sure we'll weather this storm too. And on that note, I bid you all a fond farewell. Remember, whether you're facing Roman assassins or rising sea levels, keep your chin up and your sense of humor intact. This is Sandy O'Shaughnessy, signing off with a hearty, "See you later, alligator. In a while, crocodile." Good night, and may your dreams be filled with togas and fewer climate-related calamities.
All over the country for everyone.
Done 1790.
And on this day in 1790, the Qianlong Emperor's 80th birthday bash took an unexpected turn as 4 Anhui opera troupes gate-crashed the imperial party. Little did they know their impromptu performance would lay the groundwork for what we now know as Peking opera. Yes, folks, it seems even emperors aren't immune to the charms of a good sing-song. For more on this operatic revolution and its impact on Chinese culture, we go now to our correspondent Smithsonia Moss. Smithsonia, I hear you've been practicing your falsetto?
Now at this point of the evening, we welcome listeners on FM who've just joined us.
Whoa, Newsbang Nation, it's your girl Smithsonia Moss, and I'm about to spill the tea on the birth of Peking opera. Now, I know what you're thinking. What's the big deal about some old Chinese art form? Well, let me tell you, it's like the Kardashian of the Qing dynasty, all drama, all spectacle, and all about the Benjamins, baby. So it's 1790, and the Qianlong Emperor is turning the big 8-0. He's like the Jay-Z of ancient China, and he's throwing a birthday bash that's gonna make your head spin. He invites the 4 great Anhui troops to perform, and they bring their A-game, introducing Hui opera to the good people of Beijing. It's like a cultural bomb just went off, and suddenly everyone's talking about this newfangled art form. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Peking opera is some weird stuff. It's like a mashup of music, dance, and acrobatics, with a dash of slapstick comedy thrown in for good measure. But, hey, the Chinese aristocracy loved it, and soon it was all the rage. The Qianlong Emperor was like the ultimate patron, throwing cash and support at the troops like they were going out of style. But here's the thing. Peking opera wasn't just about the art. It was about the drama, the intrigue, and the scandal. It was like the Real Housewives of Beijing, with all the backstage shenanigans and catty rivalries. And at the center of it all was the Qianlong Emperor, pulling the strings like a master puppeteer. Fast forward to today, and Peking opera is still going strong. It's like a cultural institution, with its own unique style and flair. And let's be real, it's still all about the drama, the spectacle, and the Benjamins. So, if you ever find yourself in Beijing, do yourself a favor and catch a show. It's like nothing you've ever seen before, and trust me, it's worth every yuan. That's all for now, folks. Keep it locked on Newsbang for more culture updates, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow for our special report on the secret lives of Chinese emperors. It's gonna be a wild ride, baby.
The news bang, flaying the flesh from fabricated fantasies.
And just time for a final look at tomorrow's papers. The Times, Pope gives America to Spain in new bull rush. There's a map there of South America. The Mail, Beatles' complete song about warm gun. Apparently, it's their favorite. The Independent, Vietnamese withdraw from Cambodia, everyone's relieved. The Express, weather to be a bit nicer tomorrow. That's it. And the Mirror, elephant gets tusk stuck in postbox. A picture of that on page 3. And that's all for tonight. Don't forget to turn off your sets before you go to bed. And if you're listening on the radio, just turn the dial to the off position. Or just pull the plug out. That usually works. Good night.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. Newsbang is a comedy show, written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.